Hello. Well, before I get into charity, I think the real question is um, if somebody makes a naked truth response every week, and then one week she's in a naked truth video with you, does Miss Fang now make a response to a video that she's in? Uh, but seriously, on to the charity. It's something I've actually thought about a lot. If you know, charity is selfish. I know you talked about altruism, and I know there's the one quote, which I believe I mentioned in another response. I think it was one on white knighting. There are some parallels between the two. Uh, the quote where there's no such thing as true altruism. There's no such thing as a truly selfish act. We always get paid one way or another. Not sure if it's true or not. It might be. I think it's kind of a cynical way of looking at it. I guess I come at it more from the motivation standpoint. Another altruism quote is a person who works for recognition values the work he does. Altruism's true name is anonymous. And another quote I remember hearing, watching something about George Steinbrenner. I know you're not big into sports ball, as I saw your quote once, but you probably know who he is. If you don't, he was the owner of the Yankees before he passed away a few years ago. But I remember seeing something with talking about his charitable donations and the charity work he does, and they were talking about how he doesn't make a deal of it, and he says, if you do charity and anyone more than you and the person you do it for knows about it, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Of course, this was said in a video about him doing charity work, so there is some irony there. And I think motivation is part of it, and I used to look at it that way, but I kind of changed my perspective a bit. I used to be a lot more cynical than I am now. I go back a few years ago when the those Live Strong bracelets were a big thing. A lot of people were wearing them, and I always felt, you know, people were doing it more to show off the fact that they did it than to help the charity. And I felt, what, I don't know. I think they cost $1 or something. I said, you know what? If it costs 10 cents to make a bracelet and you spent $1, you bought it for $1. You know what? You'd be better off just giving them $1. Because if you sell 10 million bracelets, that 10 cents, saves you $1 million. But you know what? I never bought one of them. And at the end of the day, if that gets people to spend money on a charity, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Uh, Again, it might be for selfish reasons, but that's not necessarily a bad thing as much as we would like, it to be for truly altruistic reasons. If you're helping someone out, it's a good thing. And I guess even if someone does it for selfish reasons, and I guess I'm going to work on degrees of selfishness, if there's such a thing. Like the definition I've read of selfishness is where it's either excessively or exclusively about you. So I think you might get something out of it, but that may not be your main goal behind it. I was thinking if someone does it, as you said, more for bragging rights. You know, I donated $50, and the guy goes, "Well, yeah, well, I donated $100. You know what? Maybe he's doing it for his ego, but the charity gets $100." And off the top of my head, the only possible bad thing I could think of, reason why someone might donate to charity, would be maybe for a tax break where they donate, X amount to save twice as much in taxes, maybe with a tax bracket and money that could be used for something else. Now, you're putting it to a charity so you can save more for yourself, and that money doesn't go to something else that might need it. So the only thing I could think of where it would be bad to donate to charity. So probably is for the most part selfish to some extent. I mean, but is your intent to be selfish? I mean, are you donating to feel good about yourself, which isn't necessarily a bad reason, or are you just feeling good about yourself because you donated? I generally don't like to talk about what I do with charity and stuff, and it's not even so much about uh, not bragging, but obviously about someone who's big about talking about myself outside of some of these vlogs. Couple little things here and there. Like I always say, if there's, at the supermarket, I always like the self checkout line. First of all, it's quicker, but as not being a people person, it's easier. It's easier for me. But a lot of times they have change bucket donation there. Any change I get from the machine goes right in there. It's a little thing, but I always say, you know what? If everyone just threw the change in a bucket and gave it to charity, it would add up to a lot. But I'm going to tell one brief story about donating to a charity for maybe not the best reasons that I did. Sorry about that. This was actually earlier this year at San Diego Comic-Con. I was walking from the garage to the convention center, and as I'm walking by, this pretty girl, cute Irish accent, stops me and mentioned something about the Flash T-shirt I'm wearing, and she goes, "Oh, that's a nice T-shirt, Flash, right?" She actually did like the Flash, like Flash Gordon, so I knew she wasn't like really geeky, but uh, pretty girl was talking to me, and didn't find it that odd. I wasn't cosplaying or anything, but over the course of the few days I was there, I had a few comments about this shirt I was wearing or whatever. Uh, Talk for a minute or two, and then all of a sudden she gets into the whole donation spiel. And to be perfectly honest, if I knew this was going to happen, I would have avoided her altogether. but she gets into it, and now she's talking, and very sweet girl. I mean, obviously it's part of her job to be sweet, but uh, going on, and she works for the Save the Children, and as it's going along, like not something I would have done on my own, but I'm thinking, you know what? It's for a good cause. I'd probably feel a little guilty saying no after all this, so I'm about to do it, and I reach into my pocket for my wallet, and I realize I left my wallet in the car when I parked in the garage. I guess I took the wallet out to get the credit card and left it in the car. Uh, so after 10 minutes, 50 minutes talking to her, now I'm like, I don't have my credit card. I'm like, but I will go. I'll get it and I'll come back. And of course, she didn't believe me. Uh, she's like, okay, sure. She's like, you know what we call you? We call people like you unicorns because you're a myth. We'll never see you again. Now, I had planned on coming back anyway, but for me, above charity, and if I am going to pick a charity, it will generally be to help children. I always find that's a nice way to go, unless it were maybe something that I felt a personal connection with, like social anxiety or something. But anyway, but above charity and above even the guilt, at this point, I just wanted to prove that I wasn't a liar. I was a man of my word. So I went back to the garage, got my wallet, the credit card, which I was going to have to do. On my way back, I noticed a couple other people wearing similar shirt to her. Realized there were other people around there doing the same thing. I also realized how stupid it is to give my credit card to someone on the street that I don't know. This could have been a total scam, which is luckily turns out it wasn't. I was not thinking about that at the time, but yeah. So I went back and went through and gave my credit card. So now $35 a month goes to Save the Children. As I said, my biggest motivation at that point was just proving that I wasn't lying. Um, but at the end of the day, this $35 a month going to help kids, and I haven't canceled it or anything. So while my motivation may not have been the best, at the end of the day, they're getting money, and I think that's the important part, the end result. Uh, as you said, with what you're doing, which I think is great, if someone is does something charitable because they want to win a prize from you, great. They've done something charitable, and that's a good thing. So I guess in the end, is charity selfish? Sometimes, definitely. Most of the time, I don't know. There's probably a little bit of selfishness in there, but I don't think it matters. So I guess I realize I've revved on for a long time. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.